ready to, all right. Check, check. I guess that means we're ready to go. All right, we got everybody here. All right, welcome everybody to this Board of Commissioners regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Waxhaw. This meeting is now called to order, but as we go along, what I'd like you to do is if you could please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for just a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Everybody. All right, moving through to our agenda tonight. Any changes requested to tonight's agenda as published?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a change to the agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda that will add the reading out of a resolution unanimously adopted by the Union County Chamber of Commerce and have that item added to old business.
All right, so it'll be under old business. Is that where you want to place it, under old business? That'd be appropriate? Yeah, old business. Right, exactly. All right, so this item...
Mayor, I'd like to request a change as well.
Okay.
I'd like to remove the weather safety policy from the consent agenda.
Okay. All right, so if we can do that in one motion, Charlie, I think we can. Okay, so those two motions are up to add the item to be read into the agenda on new item would be new item number 3 on Union County Chamber, and then to bring down from the consent agenda the adoption of the weather safety policy. So those are up. Anybody have any questions on those before we make a move on it? All right, all in favor?
Aye, as amended.
All around? Good, thank you. I just look at him, he's motion maker.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said all in favor, that's why.
Yeah. Good thing we're visual. So there we go. All right, so we have that. We'll move now to general public comments. I have one general public comment. Eric Kelly has signed up tonight. So Eric, welcome to the podium, and just speak clearly into the mic. One of the things I want to remind everybody tonight is speak clearly into the mic as we can, because we are trying to create a program for the hearing impaired. So we're trying to get that working. So just speak clearly and right up into it. You'll get used to it.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. My name's Eric Kelly. I'm a longtime Waxhaw resident, and I, for about the past year, have been the commander of American Legion Post 208 here in Waxhaw. So I have a special presentation to make to Chief Gregg Collins, if he's here.
Chief.
Oh, come on down.
Tagged again.
All right. Chief Collins, and Chief, I don't know if we've ever met, but
we have not.
Okay.
But
he
I
is,
like meeting people that give me awards.
That's
so
right.
nice
That's right. Chief is a huge supporter of the American Legion. A few months ago, he attended a meeting of the coffee house, Veterans Coffee House at Waxhaw Baptist Church, and on the spot offered to fund out of his own heart and his own pocket the annual dues of for 10 new members. And so I'm happy to announce that we have 10 new veterans and post 208 because of the Chief's generosity. So I have the certificate of appreciation for you here. Okay.
Thank you very much.
That's very good. Well, thank you.
And
Photo op.
okay.
There she goes. She's right there.
Well, I have one more thing I'd like to say in appreciation of our police department, and that is on April 29th, we had a special event at Post 208. We were a stopover point for the North Carolina Legion Riders. The Legion Riders are a lot of motorcycle enthusiasts within the American Legion. They were making a cross-state journey. They had a leg that day. It was the third and final day from Kings Mountain all the way to Rockingham. We were a stopover point. And were it not for the motor escort provided by our Waxhaw Police Department, it would have been more difficult for them. They made it smoothly through the town, and largely due to the efforts of Lieutenant Buddy Zill back here. He, on the fly, came up with an alternate route because you may recall that is also steeplechase day in Mineral Springs, and they had to make their way toward Monroe. Okay, so again, thanks for all the help with that too.
All right. Well, it's nice to see that. So now there's a photo up, so we'll let you do that. But
Okay.
yeah, you don't escape us. So. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Appreciate that. Okay, so we'll drop down to the consent agenda item. So we have that request to take number 1 off and open it up and move it down. So can I have a motion to for tonight's consent agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion for tonight's consent agenda as amended.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Pedro. All right. So move that down. All right. Recognitions. First up, Mr. Todd Matthews. Todd, your building. Got a new employee.
We got Grayson, you wanna come up? We got Grayson Wilson with us tonight. He's a new member of our team. I was coming to work today, or coming up here tonight, and thinking, we lost Sonny a while back, and it took us a while to hire somebody for his position. And I was coming over here tonight thinking Sonny would really like this kid because he's happy all the time. He comes in smiling, he leaves smiling, he's ready to learn anything. He jumps up whenever we need to do something. And I got him from Mineral Springs Fertilizers. This is second one, ain't it? So I'm probably not welcome down there anymore. But I'd like to introduce Grayson Wilson.
Well, very good. Grayson, welcome.
I told him he had to have a long speech, though.
Scare him first.
Thank you very much, and this job I'm learning a lot, and it's a really good learning opportunity, a lot of great benefits, and it's doing me a lot of good learning from Todd and the guys that are working up there. I'm learning a lot from them, and I appreciate all of y'all and for everything y'all do, and thank y'all for the opportunity and letting me come on the team.
Well, you're welcome to it, and I think you're going to have some. I think you're going to have some good guidance from everywhere and above. So, go ahead and get a picture there. Great, thank you. Todd, you're up again. Got another.
Yeah, I got Mr. Brendan Helms. He's our fleet mechanic. Like the second day, he had to change a motor mount on the car. He had the car on the ground, the motor up in the air, and I was like, oh Lord, what have we done? He got it worked out, and he was happy when he got done. So he's worked for 7 years at Bob Mayberry and 7 years in Monroe for doing the fleet. And past couple of years, he went to Monroe Gas doing the natural gas. And then this opportunity come up, so he decided he wanted to keep doing mechanic work. So we got him, and he's doing real well. He's doing fit in good. He gets along. He's happy with what he does, and he's not scared to jump in and try to do something. So,
And that's being part of the team.
yeah. So this is Brandon.
Brandon, welcome.
I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to come down here and be the mechanic and try and grow the garage a little bit and just kind of keep everything rolling. I appreciate it.
That's great. Well, it's good to have you here. Yeah, that's good. And I think his decision was probably based on a new facility that we're building, but I'm not saying, so
Yeah,
that helped.
yeah.
That helped. That's awesome. Well, welcome. Get a picture. Thank you. All right. Next up, Chief Gregg Collins, I guess we call you G1 of Gregg Squared, so I don't know, you guys can battle that out. You and the fire chief.
I'm good with either one.
Okay, good. Welcome. Good to see you.
I would say newest employee for the PD, but obviously this is not the case. So with me, I have Master Police Officer 3, Detective Alex Ng. He started his law enforcement career way back in 1993. 21 years with the NYPD as a patrol officer, street crimes unit, where he earned his detective shield in 1999. 13th Precinct Detective Squad, and spent the last 7 years in the Special Victim Squad investigating both adult and child sex crimes. God bless people that can do that on a regular basis. He retired in 2014 from NYPD and moved to Waxhaw with his wife Danielle and 2 kids, Alex and Olivia, to enjoy retired life. Well, that didn't last very long, and I think I read that book myself. Working for Waxhaw in 2015 into the present. He started out as a patrol officer, and 2018 was promoted to the detective investigator slot. He's earned both his intermediate and advanced certificates already, as well as completing the criminal investigation certification program from the North Carolina Justice Academy. His wife Danielle is currently the meditation instructor on Meditation Mondays for the town of Waxhaw. So, a little plug. And I'll just say one of the great things, and the thing we have to keep working on, is maintaining our level of crime, because when we do have something that happens, we have people like Alex and the patrol officers that can jump right on it. And I can think of 3 or 4 cases already since I've been here, like the couple of stores that we had it broken into overnight, a few things like that, that were not only a known suspect within 48 hours, the suspect was caught, interviewed by the detective, and in jail within 48 hours. So that really helps keep the lid on the crime, and people know if you want to commit crime, don't come to Waxhaw to do it. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have Alex as part of the team.
All right. Outstanding. Thank you, Alex. Oh, come on, we're not going to let you off the hook.
All right.
All right, photo op.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you take those all the time. They don't even know he exists. I mean, All right, thank you, Chief. All right, so right now we don't have anything on presentations. We're going to jump down to the public hearings, and so we're going to want to open this up. So can I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Good, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're in. Mr. Wells, you're up. This is public hearing on the fiscal year 23-24 budget. Floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody, and it is my pleasure to introduce the proposed fiscal year 24 budget for our public hearing. So, as required by the North Carolina state law, the budget is balanced, and I will go into all of the highlights. I will do a good bit of the presentation, but then also Melody, just like the budget workshop, will assist in her portion of the presentation. We'll go over a lot of the same information, but a lot of the public has not heard that information yet, and then also update you on a couple of things that we did adjust based on the feedback from the budget workshop. So without further ado, your proposed fiscal year 24 budget is $19,864,000. Your general fund, $19,781,000. Special revenue fund is $83,000, and we'll get into what those are in a little bit. Your capital improvement budget's $3,611,000. And just a few high-level highlights. We will be continuing our 5-year capital improvement plan. The tax rate will maintain 38.5 cents, and that's been the town's tax rate since the 2018-19 fiscal year. And just as a couple of points of reference, the one you see here, a penny on the tax rate, and this is the property tax where we utilize real prior years and motor vehicle taxes to calculate 1 penny equals approximately $320,000. But I'll show you that's only a portion of the revenue that we receive in putting this budget together. Another interesting highlight that's not on the screen here is it takes approximately just over $54,000 a day to operate the town now. So we had our retreat back in January and had a few things that we implemented from that meeting, as we almost always do. The first one was a fund that was developed for greenway sidewalk projects. This is to save up for projects. We established a line item budget for greenway and sidewalks. It can also be used for grant matching, things of that nature. We did rename it based on the feedback from the budget workshop. It is now the Pedestrian Connectivity Fund. And then the fee in lieu line item, the revenue and expense line item that was there, we moved that over to the Capital Reserve Fund. It's got a 0 line item in it because we've not received any fees in lieu, but if we do, that's where it will reside moving forward. We also have the renewed Waste Pro contract, the numbers that are part of that contract in this budget, and you find that in the sanitation section of the budget, which we'll go over shortly as well. Another initiative from the retreat was establishing a tree maintenance program. So this will be a 5-year program where we divide the town into different zones and focus on that one area to make sure that we are maintaining all of the street trees that are starting to mature in some of our, I won't say new subdivisions anymore, but some that are have been around since the late 90s and the early 2000s. Those trees are maturing quite a bit and now require more maintenance. So the first year of that, we will purchase some equipment and then do some initial zone work, and then in years thereafter, we'll start picking up that work and moving that program along. So there was some specific input at the retreat about increasing a couple of line item budgets, and we did that. The communications budget, as well as the facade grant budget. The communications contract resides within the professional services section of the administration budget, and the facade grant line item is housed in the planning and zoning budget. So I mentioned a few moments ago about revenues, and this is the breakdown of our revenues this year. As you see, the $19,781,000, that's our total we will have in the general fund. $11,210,000 is from real and personal property tax. Those are the numbers that we get from our tax base and do the math based on the 38.5-cent tax rate. And we're provided those numbers from Union County, as always. Additionally, prior year taxes and penalties, that's $20,000. We do receive not a lot, but obviously a little bit of money in what you call back taxes, and that can go back to 10 years before you would consider a debt set off on that. Motor vehicle tax is also based on the 38.5-cent tax rate, and that revenue is proposed at $1,123,000. Sales and use tax, that's $4.8 million. Franchise tax is $800,000. So those two taxes are relatively similar. And sales and use tax we receive on a monthly basis from the state of North Carolina, and it's not necessarily that you go to a restaurant, say you go to Maxwell's and you pay for your meal. That sales tax that you pay goes to the state of North Carolina. The state of North Carolina takes their cut, and then the remainder of it is distributed between all the counties and municipalities throughout the state at their formulaic way that they do it. And so that's our estimated revenues for that this year. Franchise tax is a quarterly revenue that we receive. So think about all of your utility bills that you pay, telecommunications, power, natural gas. There are fees on that. They go to the state, and then they distribute a portion of that back to us and other municipalities as part of a quarterly revenue process. Other revenues is a catch-all for pretty much everything else. This would be planning and zoning review fees. This would be building permit fees, parks and recreation fees, ABC. We get a small amount of revenue from sales at the ABC store. So those are several examples of that. So the personal property tax, prior years of motor vehicle, they all equal to roughly about 2/3 of the total revenue that we collect. Sales and use taxes is about 1/4 of that, our total revenue. So you also see there a transfer from fund balance, $733,000, and so that is utilized from our unassigned fund balance to balance this budget. So some of the highlights, as we did at our last meeting, the board approved the town manager and attorney to, go ahead and finish the acquisition of the athletic barn, and we are in the process of doing that. And that, of course, is one of the major new things that you'll see included, monies included towards in this budget. So it'll go towards some startup costs as well as staffing, and then of course our debt payment to pay off our 55-month seller financing that we just approved on that acquisition. Trash recycling, yard waste pickup, as it always is, and of course we just reestablished our relationship with Waste Pro, and they will now be our provider through the year 2028. It continues to include our police building upfit debt payment. So where we're standing now, this was a 15-year loan, and that is scheduled to mature in the year 2028. So real excited as that year keeps getting closer, and we can have that debt off of our books. It includes the current town hall lease where we are, and of course we're hopefully scheduled to be out of there this coming spring. That's when our lease ends, but we do have an option to go month to month if we need to, depending on how things continue on the town campus site. And this year it will include our first debt payment for the town campus. And so of course we've spent 2 budget years programming in the amount that we need to make sure that we can sustain that moving forward. And so that is included in this budget, as well as our vehicle leases and our relationship that we have with Enterprise. We have over 30 vehicles now in our fleet that are leased through that program. We also have a transition from what we have now and up and I guess till technically the end of this budget year, a downtown department. We are going to transition that to a business development department. They will still have the downtown responsibilities as part of that budget, but will also put more focus into, as it says, business development, economic development, and recruitment of businesses, and to establish more of an economic presence here from Waxhaw staff. Streetlights is always a significant part of our budget. That is housed in the public services budget line item. It's usually about $250,000. As I mentioned before, the facade improvement program, and we did up that line item budget from $50,000 up to $65,000 this year. And as always, if we have the good fortune of needing more, then I'm sure we'd be happy to entertain that later on in the year as a budget amendment. We also have the full schedule of events, and of course we've been running some events already this year and have several more that are getting geared up for the summer. Just last weekend had our incredibly successful Kaleidoscope Festival, so it was a beautiful weather day and a great turnout, so you can't ask for much better than that. And we're geared up for another summer and fall and holiday event season. So focusing on the personnel side of the general fund, this budget we would have a total of 100 employees. It includes 11 new positions that you see over there in the green box. So it includes 3 patrol officers and 1 detective for the police department, as well as a downtown park manager, and what you'll see as cultural park techs that will help maintain that park as well as some of our other assets, a part-time accounting assistant to provide support to all other departments, as well as 2 staff members to operate the almost acquired rec center. Also proposing a cost of living increase of 3% that would be effective on July 1st, as well as up to 2% merit based on performance evaluations. A longevity pay based on your time here served with the town. Also have a couple of different life insurance options with term and whole life, a basic whole life insurance policy that people can also choose to invest some of their own money into more of that coverage if they wish to do so. Includes paid maternity leave, and we also, as we do most years, is absorb the increase in medical insurance costs, which this year was roughly about 5%. All in all, and this is historically what it's always been, it's about 50% of our operating costs, which is pretty much in line with just about anywhere else that's in this business. So with that, I will let Melody come up and go over the department highlights.
Thank you, Jeff. So over the next few slides, I'll be discussing some of the highlights from the department budgets. I won't be reading each of the bullet points for the sake of time, so please feel free to ask any questions as I move along. So first up, we have the Board of Commissioners budget at $147,000. This includes the BOC stipend as well as the election costs for the 2023 municipal election. Next, we have the administration budget of $3.3 million. This is administered by our town manager, Jeff Wells. This includes the day-to-day general administrative expenses. Included in this budget are the communications contract, which is a result of the board retreat outcomes. And so then we also have the lobbyist contract for state and federal, and so I can attest to the fact that Deborah works very hard on our behalf to advocate for our needs at the state level. And we also have the town campus debt payment that's included in this budget, as well as contingency, and so I'll go over a little bit more in depth on that in a couple minutes. So next we have the finance and tax budgets, which are managed by our finance director, Rosie Dodd. The finance budget is proposed to be $424,000, and it includes the day-to-day accounting expenses for the town. It also includes the annual audit contract as well as a new part-time accounting assistant position. The tax budget is proposed to be $160,000 and includes the 1.25% fee that's paid to Union County for the collection of our property taxes. Next is the information technology budget, which comes in at $860,000. It's managed by our information technologies director, Nick Baumwig, and it includes the operation of the town's computer system as well as the digital networks, so hardware, software. Next, the public services budget as well as the sanitation budget are both managed by our public services director, Todd Matthews. The public services budget is proposed to be $1.7 million, and this department is responsible for streets, streetlights, utilities, and grounds maintenance. Included in this budget are leased vehicles through the enterprise system. We have 4 additional police vehicles planned for this year. And then also we have the small bulk pickup, which is a recent change with the renewed contract with Waste Pro, where public services will be responsible for picking up items like refrigerators. So the sanitation budget is projected to be $1.8 million. This includes the solid waste contract with Waste Pro, who will be picking up trash, recycling, and yard waste for the town. And then next we have the emergency management budget of $211,000. This budget supports administration of the emergency management and safety functions of the town. So a highlight here is this includes our annual contribution to the Waxhaw Volunteer Fire Department. Next up we have the engineering budget, which is $848,000. This budget is managed by the Assistant Town Manager, Matt Hubert. This department provides professional services related to development plan review, transportation planning, and stormwater. And then we have the planning, building inspections, and code enforcement budgets, which are managed by our planning and inspections director, Lisa Thompson. The planning budget is proposed to be $760,000, and this budget includes expenses associated with planning, zoning, and subdivision administration. The budget includes the facade grant increase. And so with building inspections, that budget is proposed to be $535,000. This department is responsible for building permit issuance and building construction inspections. The budget includes permitting software maintenance, as well as a fund balance transfer, which I'll go in a little bit more detail in just a minute. Code enforcement is $101,000 and includes abatement expense. Next, we have the police budget, which is proposed to be $4.5 million. And this budget is managed by our Chief of Police, Gregg Collins, otherwise known as Greg Squared. This department is responsible for keeping our community safe. And so the budget includes debt service for the police department, where we're standing now. It also includes training, which reason why it's mentioned here is because it's a significant expense for the town because our police officers require a significant amount of training, or a high level of training. It also includes the outfit for our officers, such as equipment and uniforms. Also funding for our community policing and the K-9 program. And then we are also adding 4 new positions, 3 new patrol officers and 1 new detective. So moving on to human resources, that budget is proposed to be $456,000. And this budget is managed by our Human Resources Director, Wendy Davenport. This department manages or administers employee benefits, conducts employment searches and recruitment, and is responsible for the wellness and appreciation programs for the town. And one thing I would like to note here or highlight is the organization-wide compensation study that's included in this budget. It's really important for the town to stay current with the market, and so this will allow us to check in on that and see where we're at and if we need to make any adjustments. That type of study is normally completed every 2 to 3 years, and so the last one was done in 2019, so it's time to get updated on that again. So next up we have Parks and Rec at $2.8 million, and so that budget is managed by our Parks and Rec Director, Dina Sabinski. This department maintains town parks and hosts many events and programs. A couple highlights within this budget is it includes funds for the new rec center, which includes 2 new staff members to operate the facility, as well as startup costs and debt service for 1 year. This budget also includes 4 new positions to operate our new downtown park. And then moving on to business development, that budget is proposed to be $309,000, and it will be administered by our business development director, Ashley Knoll. This department provides support and retention services to businesses, focuses on strategy development and business recruitment, and houses our Main Street program. And so this budget will include the donation to the DWA, also known as the Downtown Waxhaw Association. It also includes the location analytics software, which will be instrumental in recruiting businesses to Waxhaw. And then we also have the parking leases for downtown and several maintenance programs. So moving on to the general fund, we have contingency projected to be $190,000, and so this follows the town's policy to reserve 1% of the expected revenues for unexpected expenditures. Included in this budget are transfers for the pedestrian connectivity fund of $140,000, and that will basically be starting that fund. The town will also continue to make contributions to the capital reserve in the amount of $175,000. Also will make a contribution to the building inspections department of $360,000 to help balance the budget. And then moving on to fund balance, the amount of unassigned fund balance from the last audit was $14.9 million, which equates to 91% of current year's operating budget, and based on the proposed budget is 72%. Now, staff anticipates that new numbers will be provided when the audit is completed later this year in the fall, and there is a potential that we would be able to further contribute to that unassigned fund balance. The transfer from fund balance in the amount of $733,000 covers the rec center startup and first year mortgage. So next we have the special revenue funds, which includes the operating expenses for the cemetery at $20,000. Then you have the Carolina Thread Trail Fund at $50,000. This includes grant monies from for the 12 Mile Creek Greenway. And then also you have 3 police programs, the Police Explorers, and this is operational expenses to keep the program running at $5,000, and then you have the Police State Drug Fund at $6,000 and the Police Federal Drug at $2,000. And I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Melody. So now is my favorite part, the capital improvement plan, and this is just something that I continue to can't say how proud I am of this program that will now be in year 3, and they are typically 4 or 5 year programs. In our case, it's a 5-year program that we re-adopt every single year. It identifies large-scale projects as well as equipment purchases, provides a schedule for planning and completion of the projects, as well as identifying funding options. And you see up there on the screen now, on the left there is our progress report, which is how we hold ourselves accountable and reporting to the public about the progress of each of our projects. You see they're divided into the design phase as well as the construction phase, and we provide a percentage of the progress that we are towards completion. We've also included the new projects in that progress report in this last report that we did, and we update that quarterly. You also see on the right-hand side of the screen the completed projects, and you see the different ones that we have completed, and that is a total of 18 projects. So we have really put a good dent in our program since we started it. So that's something that we all can be really proud of. But as I say, and you'll see further on, that there's always more projects to add to the list. So it's a never-ending list, but we can all feel very proud about what we've accomplished to this point. So the benefits of a CIP: it synchronizes project planning with your budget. It links the town's plans with its fiscal capacity. Most importantly, it informs the public about our investment in infrastructure. So your total CIP budget $3,611,000. As I mentioned, we reevaluate it annually, and it's also one of your motions that you adopt coming up in June when you make a motion on this budget. It does include, as Melody mentioned, the contribution to the capital reserve, $175,000, which is what we make annually. And it also, based on the feedback from the budget workshop, we moved the fee in lieu item from the pedestrian connectivity fund. We moved that line item to the capital reserve, and it now has its own line item revenue and expense housed there. So our current capital reserve amount that we have is $2,791,093. Of course, you add the $175 to that coming up this new budget year. The American Rescue Plan, we have what I will call the remaining non-encumbered funds of $846,000. So this budget will encumber those funds, which is something that we need to do by the end of the calendar year of 2024. So we are getting ahead of that, but we still are very well ahead of the time when all of that money needs to be expensed, which is the end of 2026. So your project funds this year, we have 7 of them: Pedestrian Connectivity Fund, American Rescue Plan, PARTIF, which is the North Carolina Recreation Trust Fund, so Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, and that is the grant that we received to do some work in Downtown Park, so that includes $425,000. The Powell Bill Fund, the Small Transportation Fund, so that is the $25 fee, a vehicle fee, and then the Capital Improvement Plan Fund, as well as the Kensington Drive Grant Fund. So first, the Pedestrian Connectivity Funds, newly established fund utilized to reserve funds for greenways and sidewalks. Funds can be used for construction, restoration, and local match opportunities. PARTIF Grant Fund, this is again through the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, $425,000. So it's a matching fund. We put up $425,000. They provide us $425,000, and these will go towards amenities in Downtown Park. So work on Broad, Givens, and South Church Street will be going out to bid on this very soon. So it originally was just Broad Street, but we added Givens and South Church to the work. So we're taking $350 that was budgeted in this current year, adding $260,000 more in this upcoming budget to get the full estimate for this job that will go out to bid pretty soon, and then you'll be making a decision on that this summer. Street maintenance plan. So we need to do a comprehensive field inspection of our town street network. As I mentioned before, we have some subdivisions that were built roughly in the 15 to 30 year range ago, and we need to start doing an assessment on those streets, the pavement quality, and then determine the best way to maintain those streets moving forward. But the first step is to do a study. Powell Bill, it includes street and sidewalk maintenance as it always done. So this is our budget to do annual repaving. We have an annual contract that usually is in the range of $200,000 to $350,000, just depending on what streets need attention in this upcoming year. It also includes budgets for general street and sidewalk repair. So think of potholes, sidewalk that's uneven. Something to keep in mind, though, this is for town-maintained streets, which we do maintain 70 miles of street within the town. However, it is mostly subdivision streets with a few exceptions, but all of the main arteries in town are maintained by the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and they have their own maintenance program for those streets. And of course, it includes, as I mentioned before, the tree maintenance program, startup. We'll be purchasing the equipment, and we'll be starting the year one maintenance of what we envision as a 5-year program, dividing the town into zones, focusing on that one area of town to make sure that those street trees are in good maintained condition. Your American Rescue Plan, it includes a couple of message board trailers. We find ourselves borrowing those more than we would like, and so we're going to purchase a couple of more of those, as we have found that we need those more often now. And so this is a great opportunity to utilize dollars to purchase some of those. It will include additional enhancements and streetscapes for our downtown public space. So this is a budget we've been utilizing the past couple of years with ARP, so think like the tables at the community corner, and also some of this will be utilized for our TAP project as well, to put some benches and planters, things like that, not just there but in other areas of downtown as well. We'll also include a industrial size Christmas tree in downtown park, so that is a significant expense and requires a lot of moving parts too, and that is part of the ARP budget at $100,000. It includes a Cuthbertson crosswalk in Beacon, and breaking news on that, we just got our encroachment agreement from the NCDOT for that. And so our goal is to have that installed by the beginning of the next budget year out there on Cuthbertson Road. So the school system has been made aware, and so we're looking to move that forward as quickly as we can. So that is estimated to be at $150,000. It's primarily a crosswalk and the flashing beacon, but it does require a little bit of sidewalk work as well. We've been coordinating with the school, who also intends to build a sidewalk from the library that's being constructed now up to the middle school. So you would envision kids being able to cross at Bro Hall, safely get across, and then take a sidewalk all the way to both school campuses. It also includes $175,000 for the Nesbitt Park Field 3 lights. If you've ever been out there to Field 3 at night, it does not have your typical tower, your typical installed lights. It has tower lights. They're portable lights that are brought in. They're roughly 10 feet tall and quite frankly inadequate for the space out there. And so we are going to rectify that and install lights on that highly utilized field. It includes downtown directory signs. So we have signs in downtown that depict where all of the business locations are. We use magnets. Unfortunately, what we find with that is almost always within a week or no more than a month, it becomes obsolete because something changes downtown. A business closes or moves or renames or whatever it may be. And so we are going to change those out and install electrical type directory signs. So think about what you might see at a mall like South Park, something like that. We were inspired by what we saw in Belmont when we took a trip up there and walked through their downtown, and they have a great touchscreen directory there. And so we're really looking forward to implementing that project. It also includes a renovation of the Waxhaw Library. I just mentioned library a few minutes ago. This branch, they will move out of a building that the town owns. The town owns the property. They will relocate up there to Cuthbertson Road in a new nice facility there, and so that leaves an opportunity for that building to be re-envisioned and reimagined. And we're working on the scope of that now, and then of course we'll share more in collaboration with the board on that, hopefully sometime this summer or fall. And lastly, it includes the Kensington Drive intersection at NC 16 project. So this adds additional through and turn lanes for vehicle capacity, cuts down on the hill for sight distance at Connell's Point and adds sidewalk between Connell's Point and Sunset Hill Road. In your budget this year is the right-of-way acquisition cost, and that is currently in progress. So they are working through that process, and we anticipate the construction of that to be awarded this next budget year, which is why our portion of that project is programmed into this budget. As I mentioned, we have 18 projects that are complete. We have 94 projects total on the master list. And as I mentioned, this list never ends, and it always grows. Every single year we're thinking of something, or there's a new need that pops up. And so this list will grow, but also what will grow is the check marks for the number of completed projects that we have. So at your budget workshop, you got an update on our fee schedules and how we updated those. We're adding an annexation fee, which is a small fee if there are parcel owners that wish to be annexed into the city. There's a small processing fee for some just certain types of things that the planning department has to do as far as noticing, things like that. Pay for those costs. Sidewalk dining permit, which we discussed, this will be a small nominal fee to be able to locate tables outside in our new tap area is one example of where that could be, and in other areas of downtown as well. It also includes some updated Parks and Rec fees. This gets our fees for utilizing our different facilities more in line with what our peers do all through the region. So, as you know, we do this about half of the year. So we get started unofficially around the holidays, but officially in January. Staff starts the work, and then of course we come to the retreat, get the directives from the Board of Commissioners. Want to certainly say how much that we appreciate the board and all the support that you provide us, the policy guidance, vision, and stage setting for this budget. The department heads, of course, they're all advocating for their budgets through the requests, determine their resource needs, and for the most part, I'm able to acquiesce a lot, but not everything. And finance staff for their revenue projections and guidance, other expense projections, things throughout this. The clerk's office for noticing distribution. Of course, there are notice requirements that we have to abide by North Carolina state law. And then we also will, once we get past the public hearing tonight, we will print it, and then by your next meeting, you'll have hopefully a nice bound copy, hard copy of the budget. And our other staff, in particular, our administrative assistant, Susan Lee, she's really helped us a lot in QA, QC, a lot of reviewing and editing of the budget. You can look at it 10 times and find some little something that we need to update and edit. You need a lot of different eyes looking on this, and she's not the only one, but I do want to recognize her and the Union County Tax Department, obviously, for providing us the tax base numbers that we need to calculate what the tax rate will be, as well as our revenues. Communications for the budget book redesign. They're the one responsible for how the budget book looks now. Talked with the comms team about giving it a new, fresh look, and I think it looks outstanding. And hopefully it'll be able to last us for a few years, and then maybe we can think about giving it another little update. And then last but not least, our assistant to town managers. You just heard her a few short moments ago, Melody Schuler, who also helped a lot with QA, QC, but also a lot with the budget development. She took on a lot of reins and responsibility this year in working with departments and working on line items and putting budgets together, and so could not have done this without her, and really could not do without everybody. I mean, it takes an entire village to do this, and I'll just say how proud I am of our entire staff. So when I'm sitting in a department head meeting and I'm like, well, this is not working, this is, we got to come back and look at this again, then they come and they volunteer to do just a little cutting or whatever needs to be done, or shifting things around to make the numbers work. And that is just an immense valuable thing to have as a team, and we all just work so well together that way. And very proud of that. And again, the Board of Commissioners, we cannot do this every year without your support, and just so appreciative of that and the guidance that you provide us. And when decision day comes, June 13th, you'll have your regular motions that you do. You'll have a motion to adopt the 23-24 operating budget. That's ordinance 2023-10. A motion to adopt the 24 through 28 capital improvement plan, as well as a motion to adopt the 23-24 capital improvement budget ordinance 2023-011. Now, I have not forgotten that we will have one other motion to make, and Charlie and I will work through that between now and decision day, but we will need to separate out the line item for the contribution for the Downtown Waxhaw Association. So the entire board would vote for the budget minus that, and then the 15,000 would come as a separate motion with the recusals required because of the members of the DWA that are part of our Board of Commissioners. So I have that right, Mr. Attorney? All right, great. So path forward, we've now worked through our public hearing this evening, and then budget adoption is scheduled for June 13th. So certainly happy to answer any questions that you have. I'm certainly here, as well as Melody and any other department head, depending on how much you're interested in drilling down on anything. But again, very proud of where we are. So thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Jeff. And you're right. It does take a village, and takes all the people that are involved in our staff. We also engage at the retreat level during our public segments of all that, to engage and give you direction. Government is a process, and like you said, this is almost a half-year process that we go through on both discussion internally and public comments and public input and public knowledge during the retreat, and also during the workshop, which we just did as well. So I got to commend all of you guys for packaging this whole thing. It's a lot of work. You guys done a great job on at least being able to demonstrate this, if not being able to execute it as well. So we appreciate that. So I want to open it up real quick to any thoughts, comments from the commissioners. Mayor Pro Tem? Anybody? We've all been involved with this all along the way. So sans that, I think we can rest assured that we'll probably have very little adjustment coming up on June 13th. So appreciate that, and again, appreciate all the staff's effort to package all this as well.
Thank you.
All right, with that, all that's a lot of information, a lot of presentation information, but with that, I'll take a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion.
There wasn't. Yeah. Okay, then there's no general public comment on this item. All right, so now we'll go for motion to close this public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just want to see if you guys are awake. All right, we'll move over to old business tonight. We got an initial zoning petition, RZ 014688-2023. I think we have Miss Janet up. Welcome to the podium. Floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Janet Perano. I'm a planner here in Waxhaw. Wait a minute. Oh, there it is. Okay, so tonight we have the rezoning petition for the Pfister property. This petition is a request by the applicant Walter P. Pfister for an initial zoning for the parcel on Waxhaw Marvin Road. This is a property that was just annexed into town, the 1.13 acre donut hole located on Waxhaw Marvin between Curitan and Quellen subdivisions. The parcel is currently zoned Union County R40. The surrounding properties are all Waxhaw R3. We talked about the future land use at the public hearing at your last meeting. I'm just going to skip through this slide unless anybody has any questions regarding that. And then the recommended zoning for the district, for the parcel is R3. R3 residential zoning allows for the development of single-family detached homes at a rate of 3 units per acre in a pattern that is in harmony with the existing residential subdivisions found throughout the town. With every rezoning, we're required to adopt a land use plan consistency statement. The statement must describe how the zoning proposed is consistent or inconsistent and explain why the proposed action is reasonable and in the public interest. The Planning Board reviewed the rezoning petition on April 24th and voted unanimously for a favorable recommendation. A public hearing was held on May 9th. Staff received one email from a resident of the Village of Marvin. Her comments were added to the record and there were no other public comments. The requested action this evening is a motion to approve the initial zoning and the reasonableness and consistency statement as provided. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
All right, we've been down this road several times already. This is part of that process that we go through. So any questions for our presenter tonight? Should be a pretty easy one. All right, seeing none, hearing none. Janet, thank you very much. I'm going to then ask for a motion on this. So can I have a motion? And I can read that.
Just a quick question for Charlie. Being that I live in one of the 2 developments next to it, is there any reason for me to recuse?
Unless the Land Development Code has a section in there about a conflict of interest, if you live within a certain distance, then you don't need to.
I just wanted that on the record. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Pedro. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll go back to the motion. Who'd like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the initial zoning petition RZ014688-2023 and the reasonableness and consistency statement. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, future planning goals of the town of Waxhaw. It is reasonable in the public interest as it will allow for a variety of housing options. It is consistent with the recommended growth and density for the area.
Very good. Thank you. All right, that motion is up. All in favor?
Aye.
It's all the way around. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you,
Thank
Janet.
you.
All right, next up, got a text amendment decision here for food pantry adjustments that we've made on some of our text amendments. So, Ms. Lisa.
Awesome, thank you. So tonight I'm here to present text amendment TA 02-2023. It's a request by the Town Planning Department to amend the following sections. It's Chapter 13, which is our definitions. Section 4.6 is our table of permitted uses, and then Section 4.7 are special requirements for certain uses. We went through the definitions during the public hearing. The food bank is more of the collection of food versus a food pantry where you receive, buy, store, and actually distribute the food. We talked about the table of permitted uses. If there is a P, that use is permitted. A applicant would provide the town with its site plan and construction plans, and we could administratively approve it. The S means a special use permit or conditional zoning is required. We talked about some of the locations that a food pantry may be located, may need some conditions for you all to look at and provide feedback on. So we did make that change for the NC, CC, and EC to go from a P, a permitted use, to an S, a special use permit. And then we continue to have the food pantry special requirements. As a food pantry in the residential zoning district can only be permitted as an accessory use to a planned or established non-residential principal use, and that's again through that special use permit process. The Planning Board heard the text amendment April 22nd. They unanimously recommended approval. And then with any text or rezoning, we have to explain why it's reasonable and how it meets the comprehensive plan. And I am looking for a motion to approve the text amendment TA 02-2023 and the reasonableness and consistency statement as presented.
All right, looking for any questions on this? We've been down this road before. Any questions and comments? Commissioner Simpson?
I just have a question on the permitted uses for under EC. And I know you mentioned they would have to submit a site plan. Would that go to a current existing structure that was going to turn into a food bank?
A current structure would have to get a change of use permit and could operate, if they were zoned EC, they could operate a food bank. They would have to get a special use permit if they wanted to do a food pantry.
I understand the special use. It was just more the food bank under the P for permitted. So if it was, because if it was an existing structure, they would still have to submit for a change of use?
Change of use permit. Yep.
Okay. On that, Commissioner Hall. You were looking at me like you wanted to speak. Well, you're ready to make the motion. You want to hurry up on this, huh? Wow. All right. Any other questions for our presenter? All right. Commissioner Hall, can I have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve text amendment TA 002-2023 and the reasonableness and consistency statement that the text amendment request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and future planning goals for the town of Waxhaw and is reasonable and in the public interest as a managed source of food assistance for persons in need.
All right, very good. That motion is up. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Very good. Thank you. And congratulations on getting that through. It should work out to be a good thing for us all. All right, we have a couple of drop-down items, one add item, one drop-down. I'm going to go to what I'll call item number 3, and this is a result of an email that the board received and a lot of officials received this afternoon. This is in regards to an email from the Union County Chamber Board of Directors. It was passed last Friday, so I'm just going to read it into the record here. So this is from the Union County Chamber. This is a resolution calling for the immediate action to address the wastewater capacity crisis in Union County. Whereas the Union County Chamber serves as the voice for business in Union County, and whereas the Union County Chamber Board of Directors has adopted a legislative agenda at the recommendation of the Chamber's Public Policy Committee, and whereas that legislative agenda identifies 3 guiding principles, and whereas one of those guiding principles is that the Chamber supports programs and initiatives that provide adequate, cost-effective public and private infrastructure essential for business development, growth, and prosperity throughout Union County, and whereas the Chamber has adopted a specific legislative agenda item stating that Chamber supports efforts at state, county, and municipal levels to, number 1, implement the planning and funding mechanisms for increasing wastewater treatment capacity, and immediately begin the process of adding wastewater capacity while implementing a method of allocation that prioritizes industrial and commercial development. And whereas Union County does not currently have additional wastewater capacity to support new commercial and industrial development, and whereas Union County has experienced similar wastewater capacity shortages in the recent past, which limited growth and development at a time, and whereas after discussion with numerous interest groups, including Union County officials, no plan has been offered to expand wastewater capacity to alleviate, in either short-term or long-term, the current wastewater crisis faced by businesses and industry in the county, and whereas the lack of long-term planning or efforts to significantly address wastewater capacity has created a sense of urgency that needs immediate attention at all levels of authority. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Union County Chamber Board of Directors that Union County's lack of wastewater capacity has become a crisis for business development. Be it further resolved that Union County Chamber Board of Directors reiterates its legislative priority for the immediate implementation of planning and funding mechanisms for increasing wastewater treatment capacity in Union County. Be it further resolved that Union County Chamber Board of Directors urges elected officials at all levels of government to take immediate action to begin resolving this crisis, and the Union County Chamber pledges to work with any entity focused on solving the current wastewater capacity crisis. Be it further resolved that the Union County Chamber Board of Directors calls on our legislative delegation to establish a legislative study committee to investigate, study, and make recommendations on ways to assure adequate, cost-effective wastewater capacity to address the immediate crisis and for long-term business and industry growth and development. The Chamber recommends the study committee include representatives of various interest groups, including the Union County Board of Commissioners and local municipal elected officials. Be it further resolved that Union County Chamber Board of Directors directs the Chamber President and the CEO to forward a copy of this resolution to all county and municipal governing boards and each member of Union County's state legislative delegation. It was adopted the 19th day of May 2023, signed by Pat Cale, who's the President and CEO of the Chamber, and Eric Dixon, Chair of the Board of Directors of the Union County Chamber. So again, this is a follow-up to some of the conversations we had earlier with our resolution, so we can appreciate them in joining in this effort for us. Any thoughts and comments? I'll open up if we want to. If not, seeing none, let's move down to the drop-down item number 4, which will be discussed on the weather policy, and I'm going to ask Ms. Dina to come up if she can to address any questions. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Simpson, since it was your request to bring it down, you can have the floor.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Hey, Dina.
Hi.
I just wanted to just make everybody aware, this past weekend we had a very successful the weekend before the K-Fest, and I know there's a lot of effort and planning that goes into having these events for our community. And one of those things that we plan for, or try to take into consideration, is the weather, and especially where it relates to the safety of our participants, all the citizens, our vendors, our employees. And I know in the past when these events come up, we have a very set criteria that we use to determine whether an event can be held due to weather or other acts of God or natural disasters. It's not like we just stick our finger up in the air and say, hey, it looks like it's raining out, we're canceling this event. So I just wanted to bring awareness to the public that we have a policy. There is criteria that you do use to make these decisions, and it's not done in the vacuum, that we do that in relation with our town manager, with our police department, our fire department. And now that we actually have not that we didn't have a policy, but now we have a nice graphic of the policy here that our citizens can look at, which is really no different than other organizations such as the public school system or other things that they use. So we have a very nice graphic with resources that we use to make this type of information, and they're authoritative, like the Weather Service, the Weather Channel, Periweather, that we have this criteria, as well as how it's going to be communicated out for these events if we need to cancel it or shift or move the venue.
Plan B.
Plan B, exactly. So I was just, maybe you could, do we know if our citizens want to access this? Does it live somewhere on our webpage?
After tonight, we'll actually put on the website the weather graphic. Like Miss Ann said, that we already were doing all these wonderful things, but we're just making it official so the public understands the process, and it gives a great way to, like a 1, 2, 3, how we come up with those designations when we have to call an event. For example, we have Memorial Day is coming up on Monday. We do have Plan A is outside to enter downtown. Plan B, we will be at Kensington if we have a chance of rain. So if we can go into an indoor facility, we will do that. K-Fest Kaleidoscope is a different animal. That is a regional event, 5,000 plus. We don't quite have a venue that will hold that yet. But that is something that we would have to make those weather concerns ahead of time. But those communication, as you'll see in your graphic, will kind of blanket Waxhaw and the region on how we're communicating out decision making and what the next steps are.
Perfect. I just want to thank you for doing all these great events, plus the staff, because I know it takes the whole team that do it, from Jeff to Parks and Rec to Public Works to our police to the fire department, everyone, and it's been very successful. And I know there's a lot of planning and effort that goes into that, and these decisions aren't made in a vacuum.
Yes, ma'am. And it is Team Waxhaw that puts this together.
Very good. All right, thank you.
We need to make a motion.
Will. So any other comments on that? Any questions?
I would just make a comment that in the beginning, at least for the first couple of events, or until folks kind of get acclimated with it, whenever there is a notification, just to maybe put that graphic out specifically with each announcement so that folks have a reference point.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, any other thoughts, comments along the lines of this stuff? All right, we are going to look for a motion, and the motion will be to approve the adoption of the weather safety policy as was presented in the consent agenda, but dropped down to here. So would you like to have the honor?
Sure. I'll make the motion to adopt the weather safety policy.
Very good. That motion is up. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you,
Thank
Dina.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, we get over to new business. You want to stay standing up?
I'm going to stay.
All right, downtown park art donation. Dina, the floor is yours again.
Alrighty. Let me get my paperwork. There it is. Thank you, Nick. Alright, so I am thrilled to share with you another piece of public art coming to Waxhaw. We had a great application come in from Mr. Scott. And Mr. Scott is the donator, and he came to me about 9 months ago on wanting to have a education piece, but also an art piece to talk about ovarian cancer. He unfortunately lost his wife to this disease and wanted to have something to remember her by, but also have a wonderful way to educate our community as well. So through a long process, we went through talking about where the possibilities, where the art could go, through talking with his artist, Mr. Paul. We also went through some concepts, and then budget, working with the PSAJ on the application process, going through that, vetting, multiple meetings with myself, with the PSAJ, and then came up with a rough concept that is what you see right here. And it's like a floating butterfly that will go into our downtown park. And so this is Given Street. This is our teaching pond right here. And the butterfly will live kind of floating over the pond and over the pollinator. So you see also this is coming from Church to Givens. This is the view you'll see from the road. So it's going to be a beautiful entrance to the park as well. The concept is a half moon where it again will like float out into the pond area. We also will have a ADA pathway coming from our stream area over to the artwork, so you can take selfies and learn about the art piece. There we go. The town, of course, went through multiple talking to Mr. Scott about the concept and the vision of it. The PSAJ went through the application process. We went through the vetting process with our art policy, and then the PSAJ unanimously voted to bring towards BOC. And through talking with y'all at the 2x2 and going through all the process of how we came to this, the financial responsibility of the art piece itself and the installation is totally on the donator, Mr. Scott. And then the town's responsibility is the pedestal and the lighting and the small plaque that goes along with it. We do that for all of our art installations, so that's kind of like the standard. And so I'm coming to you tonight. I put it your spot, but I'm not sure our viewers are at home. We have some updated photos of the art piece. There was a fundraiser this past weekend that Mr. Scott held, and they had the art piece there. It will be installed before we open up the park, so it'll be part of that grand opening and the ribbon cutting. So we're super excited about that. But we're coming to y'all for the ordinance to accept the art donation for our new downtown park. And if you have any questions.
It's a beautiful looking piece. I understand it was on display, I think in the Tap House courtyard back there this weekend.
Yep.
And some of you guys got
For the fundraiser.
It's a very pretty thing. Well, as everything we know in government is a process. This is one of them, and we have to have the ability to accept this artwork. So any questions, comments for Ms. Dina right now on this item?
I have a few comments.
Very
So
good.
Yes.
Saturday
Mr.
night, I was downtown having dinner with my husband, and we ran into people from the organization that this represents. And I started speaking with them, and they said that the butterfly was over at the Tap House because they were having a fundraiser. So I went over to the Tap House and was actually able to meet Mr. Richardson and actually see the sculpture, and it is beautiful. So it's very exciting to see it, and I can't wait to see it in the park.
Yes. It's going to be a great addition.
It's a nice part of a collaborative effort by everyone involved in this stuff. It's nice to see. It'll be really nice to see it in place and lit. It's a very pretty color. So I think it's referred to as teal, I guess.
It is a teal. Yeah.
All right. Any other comments by anyone on the board? All right. So I'm going to look for a motion. Motion up, please. Who wants to make it?
Motion to approve budget amendment ordinance ORD 2023015 to accept this art donation.
All right. Very good. That motion is up. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, unanimous again. Thank you, Ms. Dina. I think it's a Dina show tonight, so you're up again.
Oh, I'm up next,
This is
yeah.
consideration adoption of resolution RES 2102-23015. Scary, huh?
I know. It's a lot of numbers. Okay. Mr. Nick? All right. So again, we're going to do the art show to finish this out. The PSHA is our current.
Broke it. Little help from IT.
Mr. Nick?
There you go. Well, almost. One direction.
Try again. Second time's a charm.
One more direction there. One more.
Ha-ha! All right. So, the PSAJ is our current temporary art committee. What they have accomplished over the last 2 years has been awesome. But they are still a temporary committee. What we would like for the BOC to consideration is to make them a full-fledged committee. They've been working extremely hard on the rotation art. When art applications come in, vetting them, they've met over 90% of each year with just projects that are coming in. And so we saw this trend happening over this past year, gave an update at the retreat that we wanted to pursue this and got permission to move forward with asking for permission for them to be a real committee. And with the leadership to grow for our next step of public art for Waxhaw. So the Public Art Committee would be a committee set up of 5 members, and They would have a chair, vice chair, have their rules and procedures. We have the small updates to the park policy, just to change the names where it was PSAJ to PAC, and then go through all those just like a regular committee, but then set it up where it now has the ability to have more public members, but still have the ability to have our continuing the committee members if they would like to join as well. But again, as we all know, all this goes through the BOC for the appointments for any committee. So a recap of all the cool things that we would like to accomplish. We went to the BOC at the retreat. We came to the BOC at a 2x2. We asked the town clerk to be able to advertise for a new committee come up, because we're in that schedule right now. That leader volunteer promotion is out as well, so this is perfect timing to update the committee. And we're looking for motions. There's two. One to dissolve the current jury, and then to have a resolution to create the Public Art Committee. Do y'all have any questions?
We kind of ran over two items over here, but that's okay for today because it's still going to require a couple of two motions.
Yes.
So any questions for our presenter on either one of these topics? All right. We've been down that road, and thank you for that presentation. We've been working on this for a long time as a group. All of you guys have, so I think this is a logical next step forward. So appreciate everybody's effort who's helping us with all these committees and who will serve on these things. It's really nice to have people here in the town volunteer over and over again. So, all right, if there are no questions on either one of these two items, the first one we're going to do is going to look for a motion for the dissolution of this. So if somebody would like to make that motion.
Motion to adopt resolution RES 2023015 to dissolve the public art selection jury as presented.
That motion is up. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Second part of that is the adoption of the resolution creating the Public Art Committee. So we've just heard presentation from Ms. Dina, so I'm going to look for a motion on that one as well.
Motion to adopt resolution RES 2023016 creating the public art committee as presented.
Very good. Okay, that motion is up after discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Dina.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all that, and
Yay.
congratulations to all those who serve on these committees for moving this forward. All right, there
Thank you.
isn't anything for closed session tonight, so we're going to jump down to the town leadership reports. Town Manager Jeffrey Wells, you're up first.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening again. Have several things this evening. First, as I've done the last couple of board meetings, the shred day that was originally scheduled in April that got rained out has been rescheduled to Saturday, June 24th. Also have an update on the state's budget process. The Senate submitted their base budget last week. The Senate intends to tackle all their appropriation requests at a later date. The House budget was submitted a few weeks ago with appropriation requests. The month of June becomes the, quote, conference process month, and is the usual time that they work together with the goal of working out the differences between the two budgets and trying to get those sorted out prior to the July 4th holiday. And so we'll see how that works and how that pertains to us, as of course we have our lobbyist that's been working for us, and then we do have some appropriation requests that have made it through our legislator to the House budget process, so we don't know the status of that. And as I mentioned, the Senate budget process is a little bit different, where they'll be apparently handling those appropriation requests at some later date, which can't be that much later because June's coming just around the corner. A town campus update. All the footings for the town hall building are in. There are a few footings remaining outside of the building. Some below slab utility work is now in progress. Storm drain pipes are being installed all around the town hall area. We have hit more rock in various locations. Some of that has been successfully hammered out, but it does appear that we are going to have to do some blasting. We do have a budget for that, though, and we'll find out next week at our scheduled meeting with them what that will look like. So Union Power, Spectrum, and Verizon have all relocated their overhead lines. Windstream is the remaining utility that has not done the relocate yet, but they are on it. Once they do that, then we can continue with the grading on Kensington and finish that off, and then remove a couple of the old utility poles that will not be necessary there anymore. And lastly is a reminder that the Memorial Day ceremony is coming up Monday, May 29th at 10 a.m. It is scheduled to be at the community corner this year, since the normal location is under construction now. So that, as Dina mentioned, is Plan A. Plan B will be at Kensington Elementary School, depending on how the weather shakes out. So looking forward to that program. That's all I have.
All right, very good. Any questions, comments for the town manager? All right, we'll move on. Assistant Town Manager and our town engineer, Matt Hubert. Welcome. And I bet you're real excited to do a ribbon cutting sometime soon.
We're getting there. We really are. It's your time for your friendly neighborhood tap update. The downtown plaza is really coming together. I think you can really see the benefit we've done, adding the widened sidewalk and the change in parking and paving. So most of the sidewalk in front of the businesses is now complete. We're going to wrap up next week with completing the sidewalk on the east side of Broome Street, going from North Main to McDonald. And then there is some work following that on North Providence and South Providence in front of the Women's Club is the final sidewalk pieces, and then they will complete the resurfacing, the paving of Broome Street itself with the new crosswalks, and finally the pavement markings will be last, with the railing on top of the wall, and in some other areas where the railing will come in last. So I think everything is really spectacular. It's exciting, and so much more space to engage the businesses and the area, and so I think it's really come together like we thought the vision really would. Excited about all of that. Another piece, we'll be doing some maintenance work on the Ped Bridge, specifically to get ready for the 4th of July. Some of the railing we're going to stiffen up. It's a little wobbly in places, so we're going to be intermittently doing some work on that, trying to avoid peak times, but certainly to have it ready for the 4th of July celebration. And with that, any questions?
It is looking good out there right now in that area, and it's exciting, and people are, because we've got some spot construction areas that they're opening up, some of the flat areas for people to use, and they're getting used to it already out there. So that's nice to see, happen out there. It's a lot of great space out there.
Yeah, I'm really pleased.
It's really good. So any questions for Matt? All right, Matt, thank you very much, and look forward to that cutting.
Right, we're getting there.
All right, next up, Chief Collins, welcome back. You're getting to be a fixture around here.
Good evening again. It's been a pretty busy time as we're edging closer to summer. Last week was National Police Week, and Assistant Chief Wilson placed a wreath at the memorial service in Monroe in memory of WPD Officer Belk. Our own administrative assistant, Christina Long, performed the national anthem during the opening ceremony. On Saturday the 20th, we hosted our annual open house here at the PD, which was a good time by everybody. Last night, we had a graduation ceremony for our 16 attendees of the Citizen Police Academy. The citizens learned many things about how the department operates and got some hands-on experience with our shooting simulator and processing a staged crime scene. My thanks to all that participated and to the officers that taught various blocks of instructions during the academy. And an extra big thank you to Sergeant Womack, who not only led the academy but was present at all 11 evening classes. They told me last night some of the participants are already out recruiting people for our next Citizens Police Academy. As I mentioned earlier, the start of summer is just around the corner, and with that comes National Night Out. This year that will fall on August 1st, which is a Tuesday. Lieutenant Zill will lead our efforts for this year to have the most neighborhoods and the most neighbors to ever participate. Recruiting is still going well. We continue to make strides to become an employer of choice. Waxhaw is becoming a department that people, and especially current police officers and other agencies, come to, not one that they leave from. We recently extended a job offer to a lateral officer that will start next week. And yesterday we received an application from an officer with 4 years of experience that's a certified canine handler. Without the support of our citizens, our fellow town co-workers, and our current Board of Commissioners, this transformation would not have been possible. So thank you all for your support that you give the PD every day.
Thank you. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Well deserved to all of you guys. So we appreciate the efforts and the changes and the sacrifices that people are making to, go with the flow, if you will, but understand the process of it. So we appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Any thoughts, comments for the chief, Commissioner?
Yeah, I only had one thought really as we were going through the budget today with a specific reference to the Cuthbertson Crosswalk Beacon, and it occurred to me that when it opens up in the springtime, there likely be some young drivers and absent-minded adults as well that might not immediately recognize a new crosswalk where there's children that are going to be crossing. So my question was, could there be a collaboration perhaps between Waxhaw and Union County Police to maybe monitor it at least for the first bit of time while it's open?
Absolutely. We see that with every one that is a new one. And I almost got caught myself with the one near Maxwell's when it first went up because of negotiating the turn, and then the next thing you know, the crosswalk is right there. So first couple of weeks it's an awareness thing and get people used to it, and then we see the complaints start dying off. But every time we do open one, we do get complaints, so we will be sure to be out there. And what I've instructed the officers to do in the past is, the first couple of weeks, this is just stop them and warn them and let them go until, we give it some time. And then if that doesn't work, eventually we have to go to some stronger measures that include court costs. But we will definitely be out there. And, being that close to the school, we're always assisting the SRO out there with various things anyhow. But we will certainly make that happen.
Maybe it's a good spot to use our new reader boards out there a couple of times. Put it out there, new traffic pattern, whatever it's going to be, whatever you want to put on that.
And that is a good stretch too, because of the sight distance, to maybe even install a sign that Todd and I have talked about, that crosswalk ahead, so that you get two chances to see it before you get there.
It's a fast moving street, so I think it's a great idea. So yeah, exactly. All right, any other comments, questions? Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Up next, Miss Lisa is going to tell us all about planning and inspections.
We are continuing to work on our comprehensive plan. It's called Waxhaw 2040. We have our maps online, but we're getting ready to post the draft. For everyone to see, this planning area goes down all the way to Waxhaw Creek and encompasses about 24,000 acres. The current town limits is about 12.65 square miles, so it's only about 1/3 of that whole area. We're also highlighting some of the trends that we heard when Mr. Mitchell Silver came to present, the 10 critical elements that will make tomorrow's communities better, usable, open space, mixed use, walkable neighborhoods, conservation subdivisions, grandparents living with their children and grandchildren. So there's not this exodus down to Florida anymore. How do we handle the multi-generational housing? So we're really highlighting some of those trends. And then our Historic Preservation Commission is continuing to do some great things. As you've seen on social media, May is National Historic Preservation Month. Janet's been working with Tamia on some fun facts to post about our historic buildings. We also have a fun, we call it a lunch and learn for staff. We're also inviting our volunteer boards and you all. It's June 21st. There's a play. It's called Lois Collins Sims, A Century in Waxhaw. It's written and performed by Judy Simpson Cook. We'll get to learn about the history of Waxhaw and events that transpired in the 20th century that impacted the residents at that time. So we are looking forward to that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any thoughts, comments, questions for Miss Lisa? It's a great thing that we're getting going there again, engaging more of the citizens to contribute to the information highway that we have. It's a very interesting history that the town has, so I'll look forward to seeing some of that as well. So
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. All right, this is your turn for the Board of Commissioners. Any comments for the good of the town from anybody? All the good things we're doing.
I have one.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
With one of the items that was on for old business, the food pantry text amendment, I would just like to acknowledge and say thank you to Commissioner Hall for bringing that forth and the need for that. That is something that is much needed with people in our town, and especially, I shouldn't say especially, but with our seniors who do need assistance. And I do hope that once this goes forward that it will be used very well and, a needed use for many of our residents. So just want to acknowledge you and say thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McMillan. It means a lot. And I was going to say something, but I mean, I was very honored and very appreciative of all of you for your patience and working with me to get this to where we are today. And I was actually reading this morning in the book of Ecclesiastes and the value of friendship, and it captured me, and I thought of what we were doing as a town, where it says 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, 1 will lift up his fellow. And I see us doing that here as a town, because there are people who have fallen down, and I see us being that friend and helping to lift them up.
We are our brother's keepers.
Amen.
Absolutely. It's a great thought. It's a great thought to leave us on, unless anybody else has got some more to say about it. I think it's can demonstrate the capacity that we have as a board together to, even with some conflict, we come together when it's really necessary. So I will say I appreciate all of you and all the work and the collaboration, and with the staff too, to help satisfy some of the concerns and thoughts that all the commissioners had, especially specifically both Commissioner Hall and Mayor Pro Tem, who are very involved in this type of activity in our town. So I want to personally thank both of you for this. All right, any other questions, comments? Town Attorney Charlie, anything to share with us? No report tonight. All right. With that, I'm going to be looking for a motion to adjourn. Who's got it?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good night, everybody, and thank you for being here.